The title of the talk was the state of EmberJS, which I will talk about, but the tagline of Ember is a framework for creating ambitious web applications, which I believe it truly does. My name is Marten Schilstra. On the Twitterverse and on the GitHub, you can find me as Marten the Mus. I work for DockYard, and DockYard is a company in Boston, MA, which is in the United States. We're working on opening an office in San Diego, in California, to serve the West Coast. And I work from Utrecht, here in the Netherlands, as a remote employee. And I'm the only European employee for that matter. DockYard works with the Phoenix framework as on the back end and EmberJS on the front end. Our engineers are specialists in those frameworks. So we only have senior engineers, and we even hired for the Phoenix end of our business, we hired the creator of the framework to really have the best person to work with it in our team. And just to brag, we lose an engineer from time to time to Netflix, Twitch, or LinkedIn, or Microsoft. So I think we're doing good if we're losing our people to those companies. So what do we do with these two frameworks? We build full stack apps, and we help a lot of startups do their MVPs with this. But we also do just small feature development in-house or step documentation. But we also do a lot of architecture and best practices consulting because we are really good at what we do. At least we think so. But this talk is not about DockYard, it's about Ember. So let's talk about Ember. But first, what makes me an expert? I forget this one always. So DockYard engineers are Ember experts, as I said. But I've been building Ember since 2013, which gives me about 3 years of experience. I attend and speak at Ember conferences, so I have something to say about it, I guess. And I contribute to all the Ember core projects, so I know the source code by heart almost, which is obviously a lie because I can't remember 9,000 lines of code. So what companies use Ember? Because, well, let's ask the question, who uses Ember? Probably 2-3 hands. Yep, 5, 6. So that's even better, more than I expected. But probably if I ask who uses React, then it will be a lot more. Yep, okay. Still not as many that I expected, so probably those people will be back-end Node.js people or doing other front-end framework things. Angular, of course.
It's a jQuery group, right?
Yeah. Well, but companies that use Ember, well, first one, DigitalOcean, people might know it. Travis, Heroku, Twitch, the gaming platform, Vine, the short video platform, Yahoo. Is that company still alive?
Yeah, it was just
Intercom for your speaking with your clients, Kickstarter, Groupon, and then we go to the next page with really interesting companies. Microsoft uses it, LinkedIn, TED uses it, Netflix, vendor, Apple uses it for Apple Music, and they're going to use it for the iTunes store on desktop, and PlayStation uses Ember. So that's a pretty impressive list, I think. So there are enough companies funding Ember development and progressing Ember development into becoming, in my opinion, the best front-end framework there is. So what does Ember do? Well, it has its core values, and I'm trying to explain Ember along its core values. So the first one is, I hope you can read it, write dramatically less code with Ember's handlebars, integrated templates, that update automatically when underlying data changes. And you don't have to waste time making trivial choices because EmberJS incorporates common idioms so you can focus on what makes your apps special, not reinventing the wheel. And it's built for productivity, so it's designed so that the developer doesn't have to do a lot of laborious stuff and just get you the job done. So let's start with the first one. So yeah, I'm not going to repeat it again, I guess. But yeah, so templates. Ember, well, yeah, at its core, you have the templates that make the HTML and draw your page. And Ember's templates are made to look like just normal HTML, but with some sugar, as in the handlebars thingies, the double curly, it's the mustaches, I guess. And it's really great because DockYard works with HTML and CSS developers, and they can just work with these templates and not worry about the rest. And because it just looks like HTML with a bit in between. It's based on the rule of least power, which is formulated by Tim Berners-Lee, the inventor of the internet, or the HTML spec, or something like it. And what it means is that if your programming language has less power than as an abstraction, then behind it you can do more stuff for the person programming in that language. So really powerful languages will have less power to optimize, and less powerful languages have more room to optimize, like GL shaders. The GPU can optimize those really hard because it's just a small language, for example. And well, let's just look at the template. So, for example, Ember, because it's just static, you can tell it, it will not recompute all the variables that you see on the screen right now, like the model, the title, model, or every time the template re-renders. It will only re-render model the title if the title really has changed. It will never re-render the whole template, just the parts that have changed. And to do that, you need something that only recomputes when the templates change. So that's where computed properties come in. Computed properties are, well, what the name says, they are computed from one or more other properties. So in this case, on line 6, you have a computed property that declares that whenever first name or last name changes, then execute this function to recompute full name. And together with the engine, this will make sure that the full name only updates whenever last name or first name is updated. And so even if you update something else, it will not try to recompute full name until needed. Together with that, you have lifecycle. So if your component is just created, you have a chance to work with the attributes passed in on the init hook. And it did receive editors. You can change, like here on the screen. You can work with the variables you get passed in whenever they change. That's what did receive editors means. So only when there's change, this hook is fired, and then did render is when the actual component has rendered. Then you can have another chance to update your component. And then action handling. So user input. So if somebody clicks on a button, then you want to handle it. So that's where the action handling comes in. And this is where you update your state. So that comes down to a principle called data down, action up. This is the same principle that a lot of React developers use. So you use computer properties and lifecycle hooks to process the data coming from your backend into your templates, and then whenever a user clicks on anything, then you use the actions to process that event and update your state internally, and then the rendering engine will re-render. And because of this, if you use this programming model, the rendering engine can decide for you when to re-render after an event and what to re-render. It doesn't have to re-render the whole page. It just can re-render like one word if it needs to. And that's all backed by the Glimmer engine. And they're about to release a complete rewritten version of it, which will make it, well, run 4,000 components at 60 FPS. No sweat, which is almost as good as 16K, but not as close. But yeah, so let's go on to the second core value. So the second one was don't waste time making trivial choices. And well, most of the single page apps need a router. So Ember includes a router, and it's like the React router, it's like the Angular router. It's such a simple thing that you just don't have to invent it yourself. It has a resolver, and the resolver is something that automatically discovers like components or routes or helpers or anything else without you having to write an import statement and having to pass it into a function. So that saves another few lines of code that you have to do yourself manually. And it has Ember Data, which is a data loading framework, and it is just based on REST and JSON API to give you a few conventions to load data, and you don't have to transform your JSON yourself. You don't have to build the URLs yourself. If you just stick to the convention, then you don't have to do a thing except for building your own backend. Which brings me to the last core value, which is EmberJS is built for productivity. So Ember comes with Ember CLI, and if you which is just a command line tool, and if you do Ember new and then the name of an app, then it will just generate a boilerplate app, which then you can just CD in and write Ember server, and there will be an app booted with just transpilation, with precompile, compile templates, with concatenation, with minification, development server, library load, QUnit test suite is there, and much more, so you don't have to hand wire that yourself. And everything that Ember at its core doesn't include is just one command away. So I've been at a lot of Ember conferences, and most of the talks go as Tom Dill's tweet, like someone sees a problem, like I need to use Font Awesome, so someone makes a Font Awesome add-on, and then they make a talk about it, like I made an add-on that works with Font Awesome, and now you don't have to write a Font Awesome add-on. You just do Ember install Ember Font Awesome, and it works. You just you can just now write the components in your template and have icons. So yeah, it's really simple to get other people's code into your application, which yeah, those are Ember's core values. But then I hear people say, but Ember is overwhelming. It's a lot. It's like there's so much going on. I don't even understand what this framework does for me and how I work with it. And they say, well, React is much easier to learn because it's just a view model. So, but, well, I beg to differ because although React is easier to learn, it's just a view model. And it's moved it out. No, it's back. Good. So, although it's easy to learn, so you start out with React, but then you need something to build your app. So you add gulp to do some tasks, and you add Redux because you need state management, you need add Redux storage because you want to keep it for longer, you need Babel to transpile, etc., 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 etc. So, yeah, is it easier to learn because you have so many variations of how people build a React app? And, well, in the end, you probably have learned as much about all these tools that React encompasses that you might as well did Ember's new my app and save some time in writing boilerplate code. So with that segue, I just want to go back to Emberland and talk about new things that will make Ember even better. So the first thing which I already mentioned is the new Glimmer engine. It's a complete rewrite of the rendering engine, but app builders don't even have to change any of their own code because it's a drop-in replacement. So you get a 2-3x re-render performance for free, just because other people wrote some code, and you get well, yeah, it's and that's the whole philosophy of Ember upgrades, is that every upgrade is just free, except for like the major version, where you have to make sure you're on the latest and greatest idioms, and then you can just bump the major version and you get a free ride until the next major version. So what's more in store? So are there any people that do Ruby on the back end? Few. Well, Ruby has engines which are like a thing that where you can divide your app in chunks, like in like a back-end admin thing, or a well, you name it, and so you can encapsulate chunks of your app in an engine. It can define its own route, so it's just a mini app running in your big app. And the cool thing is you can mount it like many times, so you can do like a user admin tool and for a super user, and have some config things in between, and then well, it just works. And those are lazy loaded, so if you have like a huge app, then you can make your admin tool lazy loaded, and it will not be loaded like at the first boot for all your clients who never will ever reach your admin tool. That's a good thing to have. Modules revamp. So yeah, Ember right now uses Ruby's app structure because, well, the people that wrote Ember were Ruby developers. And so now they started to notice that that system started to break down for at least the big companies. So they imagined a new file layout system. And, well, there's already a tool that automates just transitioning. So, again, free upgrades. It allows for private modules. So, imagine that you have a component, and then all the components nested in the same folder are only accessible by that one component. That's the parent of it. So you can make subcomponents private to your thing and not have other people mess with it. And add-ons will get their own namespace, which they don't have right now. So everything is in a global, in a global namespace. But yeah, Ember Testing is kind of two like test frameworks in one. So the acceptance test framework is really cool, and then someone slapped on a component integration test framework, but it has a really different interface. But this new thing that they're about to release will unify it, and it will also get async testing for free. so you don't have to write your own callbacks and things like that, and just use async await. But that's still not the coolest thing. So, has anyone heard about progressive web apps yet? A lot of people, just a few people. So, progressive web apps is basically the web people trying to be able to have web apps do what native apps can. So, work offline, be able to be stored on the home screen, etc., etc. And Ember is already building a ecosystem to just have ready-made functionality that covers like most of the use cases you want to do with the server worker and with other progressive web app. And yeah, the other 10% you can solve yourself, but you can already get 90% for free. And this will give you the ability just to turn your web app, which is already cool, into a progressive web app in just 5 minutes. And now people can install it on your home screen, it works offline, and etc., without having to do a lot. And, well, a few more things, I'm sorry. So, decorators and posters, right now Ember works on a object model that it created for itself, but they, well, it's a bit sluggish because it's like big JavaScript objects living in your browser memory, and they have to be instantiated. They do a lot of work, etc., and they want to get rid of it, and they want to just use plain JavaScript objects, but they have computer properties and observers, and those are really made possible by this custom object model. So right now, UDCATS is championing the decorator proposal in the ES 2017, or at least he tries to get it into ES 2017, and that will enable Ember to use plain old JavaScript objects instead, and that will make it another 2 times faster or something like it, which, well, gives a big boost in performance. But the biggest thing that's about to happen, which will really give it, I hope, an advantage over React, is another thing that has to do with Glimmer 2. So Glimmer 2 is a part of Ember, but what they want to do is make Glimmer 2 just available as a standalone thing, which will be just like React, just only the V and MVC. But that's cool for small apps, for really small, like one-page apps that need to load really fast. But at some time you want to grow that app, and then if you chose for Glimmer 2, then you're stuck and you can't change to Ember, or so they say. But that's not how Ember works. Of course, you get a free upgrade back to Ember whenever you want. So you start with Glimmer, with your small app, and when it outgrows Glimmer, then you upgrade it to a Ember app. And this is something that's coming soon. So yeah, you start with Glimmer, you have only components and helpers, you have no router, you have no, well, not all the extra stuff that Ember normally brings. And it's really small, it's smaller than React. The templates are very small. So it's really possible to have like small apps on mobile, which is something people that are anti-framework or anti-React, Angular, Ember always say that it's just too big.
How small?
Under 30K. So that's, yeah, there are prototypes that are under 30K, including the app code itself. So it's doable for, yeah, mobile.
Is that with gzip or without?
I don't know, but it's, I know that React alone is 40-ish. So if you compare that, then
So that's with gzip.
yeah. So let's see how Ember compares with the other ones, Angular and React. I already talked a bit about React because, well, React is a bit Ember's competitor, or going head to head at least. So React is just EV and MVC. It's lightweight, and it's a bit of build your own framework style of building apps, which a lot of people like, some people don't. Probably those people who write Ember apps. And then you have Angular, and Angular is the platform of capabilities. It can do everything. It has no opinion. It's currently in the big rewrite. It's going from Angular 1 and Angular 2. They're trying to make Angular 2 as compatible as possible with Angular 1, but of course they had some really bad ideas in Angular 1, so they really aren't that much compatible with Angular 2, and Angular 2 is still in flux. They're in like RC something, I believe. 6. But they are changing features a lot, like so it's still hoping that they release a stable version and not change anything after that. It's really now guessing if a feature stays or not.
What's wrong with Angular 1? It's only 2 years old.
Well,
It's already 2 years old. Oh yeah, so we haven't.
Yeah.
It's already 2 years old. Yeah.
it's JavaScript. You have to keep up or be old. So, Ember calls itself the SDK for the web. It's a bit of a pun, and it's opinionated. So if you're going outside of Ember's idea of what to do, then you're on your own. But if you go along with the flow, then it's really easy, and you build the apps really fast, and it's awesome. So convention of configuration, and the special thing about Ember is it's governed by a team of volunteers, not by a company. So that's something special. And also the community is not the biggest, but it's, in my opinion, but that's my opinion, and I'm biased, the best one, of course. And that's Ember's core values, and that's all I have to say. So.